greatest injustice is done to my people is done by the way of infection. Killing us slowly, erasing our history, death by the way of deception.
With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa 9, like you got in Haiti. Educational program, that's very important. As a matter of fact, it's so important for us that a person has to go through 6 weeks of our political education before he can consider himself a member of the party, able to even run down ideology for the party. Why? Because if they don't have an education, then they're nowhere. You dig what I'm saying? They're nowhere because they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing.
God, do you know?
God, do you know what you are? God, do you know what you are?
Goddess, do you know?
Goddess, do you know what you are? Goddess, do you know what you are?
God, do you know?
God, do you know what you are? God, do you know what you are?
Goddess, do you know?
Goddess, do you know what you are? Goddess, do you know what you are?
God, do you know?
God, do you know what you are? God, do you know what you are?
Goddess, do you know?
Goddess, do you know what you are? Goddess, do you know what you are?
We live in the midst of this creation. Seen the beginning of time. Ruled over civilization until the devil took our minds. Stuck in the middle, stayed hoping for something to come and free us from this trap. The enemies constantly putting pressure up on us, hoping one day we snap. Tell me, do you know? Cause the rest from the universe, the only thing that can claim us is the Most High. The same thing that colors your skin is the same thing that darkens up the night sky. With an alpha and omega.
Peace and Black Power family. I hope you can hear me. I'm having some technical difficulties here. With this computer, you should see me going back and forth between my camera and the computer, the phone and the computer. In any event, family, what we wanted to talk about today, and I should actually say, peace, Black Power, Wukusu family. Wukusu means wake up, clean up, stand up. 3-part outline given to us by Brother Malcolm himself. I think it's probably the most basic, simple, plain, and profound outline. Wake up meaning develop your consciousness. Clean up meaning to do self-evaluation and self-development, work on the demons within. And of course, stand up meaning that once we have awakened in terms of our political and cultural consciousness, reconnected to our culture, dealt with the demons inside, we now stand up as a righteous people and fight, resist, disrupt, and also educate, build, and cultivate, right? So to me, it's the perfect outline. Family, what I want to try to do was to be able to show a very important series of slides. Hold on 1 second. So just bear with me, family. A lot going on up in here. All right. Trying to get to these slides. All right, family. Let's see if I can get this computer to work properly and not sloppily. Hold on 1 second. I have very important. I see George Jackson. I think that's Sister Janae. Peace and Black Power. Back to you, my sister. Thank you for joining. I am trying to get to this slide, and it is not allowing me to do that. Hold on. Let's see. Not seem to be allowing me to do that. Brother Mark McPhee does comment that Negroes, according to our esteemed ancestor Frederick Douglass, have nothing to celebrate before July 4th. That is correct. All right, family, let me say this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show the slide I have. I don't see any place on my phone to do that. which is kind of different from using the laptop, which allows it. Hold on. Yeah, I don't see it. So what I'm going to do is summarize. In 1852, in Rochester, New York, which is kind of like upstate New York. Oh, let's see, man. Let's see if I can do it. Hopefully everyone can see that. And we're going to get started. Hold on 1 second. All right. So just as some background, Frederick Douglass was a formerly escaped slave. He ran away from slavery from his plantation in Maryland. He escaped approximately the age of 20. We say approximately because he didn't know his actual birth date, family, when he was born, like we do, something we take for granted. He didn't know that, right? Therefore, we say approximately at the age of 20. We know he taught himself to read and write with the help of a few nice white folk. We know that he became one of the most powerful and outspoken abolitionists of the 19th century. That is without question. He created and edited his own newspaper, family. That's not easy, especially in the 19th century, especially when you were formerly enslaved. And he created, he edited it, he wrote for it. He called it the North Star. The North Star, as you know, is is symbolic. It's the star that many of our enslaved ancestors used to guide them north. So the fact that he named his newspaper the North Star tells you exactly what the brother was about. We also know he gave speeches all over the United States and even Europe. Out, outspoken enemy of enslavement of our people. He was also an outspoken advocate for women's rights. He's what we would call a brother that was in many ways ahead of his time. Now, in 1852 in Rochester, New York, upstate New York, he gave what is now a very famous speech to a group of abolitionists, mostly white, I might add. And without going through the whole speech, family, what he basically did was he asked a question. He was very kind of sarcastic. He starts off by congratulating the United States, saying how beautiful they were, the forefathers, this beautiful vision they had, and then he kind of contradicts that by saying that you have this institution called slavery. Can everyone hear me well? If you can hear me well, just type in yes. We want to make sure that you can hear what I'm saying. But I think everyone should be able to hear what I'm saying. All right. He asked a question. What to the slave is your 4th of July? Many people think that's the name of the speech. The name of the speech was really the meaning of July 4th for the Negro. But this is the question he asked, kind of in the last quarter of the speech, the last third of the speech. What to the slave is your 4th of July? Now, he's talking not to black people, he's talking to white folk, family. He's bringing it right to the enemy. And he answers his own rhetorical question. He says it's a day that reveals to him, the enslaved Negro, more than all the other days in the year, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. So, in other words, Independence Day didn't and still doesn't apply to black people. That's what he was saying. And he was calling them hypocrites. He was pointing out their contradictions. He's saying you took all this, freedom and justice for everybody, all men are created equal. You're disrespecting the women, you're subjugating women, and you certainly subjugating Africans, right? Now, if in fact Independence Day still doesn't apply to black people, what are the implications? How do we know that? Can we prove it? Well, let's look at it. If you look at this uh, in terms of, okay, yes, you see the poverty rate in 1920 by so-called ethnic groups. Those people with 19.5% of their population living under the poverty line, family, is black people. This column on the left, all the way on the left, the largest column. Out of every type of person in this country, we are still the poorest. We have here an article from CNN's online money magazine that, and this is 2012. It says the black employment rate rose to 14.4 in June, a sharp contrast to the white unemployed rate, which stayed at 7.4. Just so you know, the black unemployment rate has been double that of whites for at least 50 consecutive years. What to black people is your 4th of July? According to data taken from the Washington Post, this particular article, black people account for 13% of the U.S. population, but accounted for 27% of those fatally shot and killed by police in 2021, last year, according to Mapping Police Violence, which is the nonprofit group that tracks police killings or shootings. This means that black people not only have twice the unemployment rate of white people, it means that black people are twice as likely as white people to be shot and killed by police officers. What to the black man and woman is your 4th of July is the question. Now here we have a report that was done, The Color of Justice, Racial and Ethnic Disparity in State Prisons. And it says, black Americans are incarcerated in state prisons at nearly 5 times the rate of white Americans. It says throughout the country, 1 in 81% of black adults in the U.S. is serving time in state prison, family. And there's a number of other statistics. It's saying that in some states, the black-white disparity is 9 to 1. In other words, there's 9 black people in prison for every 1 white person. So, family, I think that the point is made, and the question still is, what to the black man and woman is your 4th of July? Family, let me just sum it up quickly. Our politics, our health, our finances, our education, all are controlled by people who don't value us. People who absolutely hate just looking at us, despise our very presence in this country. I don't know what else they got to do to show you that, family. These are people who exploit us at every turn for their own gain. That's why there's such a tremendous prison population, because the 13th Amendment, as we all know now, wrote into that a clause that said there's no slavery, there's no work against your will unless you're convicted of a crime. So it instantly got rid of chattel slavery and replaced it with prison slavery. That's why so many millions of us in these prison systems, man. It's a modern day slave system. They exploit our labor. Many of the things that you can buy commercially. This includes computers, this includes appliances, this includes furniture, even the tilapia fish you eat, a large majority of it is farmed by prisoners, family. There's a whole industry where people in prison are creating the goods that are later sold commercially. They get no profit. They don't share in the profits of that. So it's very important we understand. If you look at all the statistics, we don't have time today, you would see that for all intents and purposes, black people are a colony of the United States, family. There's no other way to put it. Now, yes, they have to do symbolic gestures. So they're gonna have to talk about Harry Tubman and $20 bill, and family, come on. That doesn't replace the killing of our people with impunity. That doesn't encase the medical establishment discriminating against our people. We're more likely to die prematurely. We're more likely to die in labor. We have highest infant mortality. We have the lowest rate of life, of longevity of any people in this country. So at a certain point, you got to say, having Harry Tubman $20 bill means nothing, right? Because you don't value the people that Harriet Tubman was working in her time to free from bondage. In fact, you have taken the system of enslavement and made it much more sophisticated and insidious today. Because we are enslaved through debt, we're enslaved through prison, we're certainly enslaved through miseducation, giving us the wrong values, the wrong priorities, family, right? So symbolic gestures are inadequate. There's a remedy for us though. And the remedy does not involve calling civil rights leaders to come to your town when Pookie is shot, family. This remedy is a lot more proactive. This remedy is exerting our right to self-determination and to begin governing, educating, protecting ourselves. I want you to think about this. We talk about China and all this technology coming from China. We talk about Korea and how Korea has stepped up in terms of engineering cars. They got the Kia, the Hyundai. Hyundai's come a long way. It used to be the laughing stock of cars 30 years ago. They ain't laughing at Hyundai no more. Hyundai and Kia are coming up, right? We're looking at all these different, and then we realize these are nations, not cities, nations. By nation, we mean they are sovereign. They have the ability to write their own laws. They have the ability to do international trade and business with other countries around the world. They have the ability to declare war or have peace treaties with other countries around the world to develop international and global alliances. We don't, family. We don't. And the sad fact is some of us use that pronoun, that collective pronoun, we, when talking about the United States. Instead of saying they, because you certainly are not a United States citizen, only in formality. You know, when you take the job application and it says, are you a U.S. citizen? You check, yeah, in a formal sense. But officially, no. Malcolm said you would have to do all these things to change this constitution if you were a citizen of this country. So I don't know, family, exactly what it's going to take for us to get the point. I don't know. What it's going to take for us to get the point. We are not citizens of this country. And that's clear. So now the point becomes, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do? Family, I just want to say this to you. There are a few people that if I were you, I would strongly watch closely. I would watch them closely. I would look at their posts. I would read the links, follow the links they put up. I would read the documents they refer to. And three of these people are my dear brother and friend from over 3 decades, Brother Ishmael Bey, also known as Ishmael Bey Muhammad. Study that brother and the information he puts up on the internet. I would also suggest you check out our brother Ramzu Yunus, Ramzu Yunus, in Detroit, and the things he's doing in Detroit, teaching our people to take back their power, teach them to understand international law. And I would suggest you strongly follow and read the documents and the references given by our dear sister Elena Porter, family. Because Sister Elena Porter is part of those 3 people, and there are more up there, others around the country. I would suggest you look at the Republic of New Africa, family. I would strongly suggest you look at those organizations and those people in this country who are advocating that Black people need to take up the mantle of nationhood. You have to, I think you should take it seriously. Some of you think it's a far-fetched idea. And we have to give our good brother Marcus Garvey, Noble to Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Abadeli brothers, Imani and Gaidi, for helping to create the Republic of New Africa. All these organizations that are saying we're a separate and distinct people with unique culture, unique ways we dress and dance, express ourselves, look at the world, our cosmology, right? So we are a distinct nation and we must exert the right to self-determination. Family, I don't know if you know this, but through the United Nations, for at least 50 to 60 years, there's been convention after convention after convention, and it has been decided that if you are colonized and oppressed, and if you are under the jurisdiction of other people, under their control, you and your distinct group, and you can prove that you have the right for self-determination, and that reparative justice must happen immediately. But if you don't know that and you don't exercise the right, it's almost as if you don't have the right. Strongly, family, please, I'm going to urge you, as you eat your hot dogs and your hamburgers and you light your firecrackers and look at the beautiful fireworks displays tomorrow, family, and even today, some of you, I'm going to really strongly urge that you study these organizations. I'm telling you, the Afro-Descendant Nation, study the Republic of New Africa. Read those documents. It's understand what Malcolm means by land being the basis of independence. Ask yourself how you can exert power the way other nations do. And ask yourself, if you had power, how would you run your nation? Would you run it the way the white man is running this nation? Because he's clearly running this nation, running it right into the ground. Or would you make laws that were fair and just for your people? Would you have a more empathetic and effective way of dealing with those who have gone into the criminal lifestyle? Would you have a better way of reaching people spiritually? Would you allow people to exercise various freedoms of the press and of speech and things and religion for real, not just on paper? That's what it has to be, family. The 4th of July is kind of a mockery. Now, for white folks, if I was a white man in this country, I'd be running around with a flag all day. I'd be celebrating. When I cook out, it would have real deep personal meaning. But I'm a black man in America, family, a new African. And for me, it's kind of a mockery. It's like you're watching other people whom the Constitution benefits on the regular, who the laws support on the regular, who the courts embrace on the regular, celebrating their Constitution, celebrating their flag, celebrating their history and their nation. Remember, this nation started out as 13 colonies who were being oppressed by King George III of Britain, man. And they did everything right, supposedly. They had protests, sound familiar? They wrote letters to the government, sound familiar? They tried to be a part of the Congress of that time, sound familiar? They had protests, they threw all that tea into the Boston Harbor, sound familiar? And it didn't work. They kept being oppressed. So finally, they wrote their Declaration of Independence and said, now we're not down with y'all. We're declaring war. We want to be free. And we really have to understand that. During times like this, when everybody's celebrating, I'm not saying that we should always spend time with our family. And for many of us, that's just another time to spend time with our family. It has no political meaning for us. But it's also a time to ask yourself rhetorically, as Frederick Douglass did, what to black people is your 4th of July? What does it mean for you? What does that mean for you? We have to ask this, family, or else we're going to be like enslaved people chained up on a slave ship, celebrating, not understanding that we are on our way to death and destruction, exploitation, and enslavement. And we don't want to be those people. We want to be people who are sentient, thinking beings. People who can read the handwriting, the political handwriting on the wall, and respond appropriately. For us, the 4th of July is a mockery. It is a contradiction. It is a form of hypocrisy. And when you see all these other countries around the world celebrating their independence, like Haiti, Cuba, China, Korea, you should be asking yourself, where's my nation? Where's my Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine? Where are my hospitals? Where are my fine educational institutions? Where's my legislative body? This is what you should be asking. Where's my nation? Family, I'm going to strongly urge as I close, thank you for your time, that we really study Elena Porter and what she's talking about. Brother Ishmael Bey, Brother Rams and Eunice, Afro-descendant nation, Republican New Africa, people who are telling us to get in the mindset to stop thinking like we need separate cliques and start thinking like we are a nation, because we are. We're just a dormant nation. But there are things we can do on paper, politically, through what we say and write that can get our people on the same page. And we can have room for the Moors, the Black Hebrew Israelites family, the Christians, the Muslims, right? There's room for all of these Africans to be in a confederation where we are together. But I can tell you this, all the statistics I showed you, does that not help you understand that after all these years and all these boycotts, all these marches and all this stuff, in some respects, the statistics are worse today than they were in days of old. It's nation time, family. It's time to give up these illusions of integrating into a system that hates your very presence. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, family. I once heard Minister Farrakhan say I was about 20 years old. And he said in a speech, talking about a white girl who was trying to tell her, a black girl who was trying to tell her father how much this white boy was, said he loved her and was attracted to her. And he said the father told her, baby girl, if the white man don't like your mommy and daddy, the white man don't love you. Don't you be fooled. So if they disrespected our ancestors, our mommies and daddies, our aunties and grandmas and nanas and papas, how the hell do you think they respect their descendants, us? Be clear, family. Don't allow flighty emotions to get in the way. Remove all illusions. We have the right to build our own schools. We have the right to name our streets and name our institutions. Our institutions, we have the right to govern ourselves. So I would strongly suggest look to those organizations I talked about. Study Elena Porter and the information she provides. Study Ishmael Bey. Study Ramsey Eunice closely, very closely. Look up those documents in the United Nations. When you hear in news of a new group of people has formed a new nation, study that. It's telling you that it can be done. It's being done. We the ones that didn't get the memo, because we're the ones that were meant from day one to be colonies of the United States, and we still are a colony of the United States. Family, I'm done. I want to thank you all for coming through. I see people leaving comments. I'm going to post them. And I strongly encourage you, family, study these people. Go through Harlem Bridge School on YouTube. Look at all of the posts of Elena Porter, Ramzu, and Brother Ishmael Bey. We just had Brother Bamani Shakur on talking about the Republic of New Africa. I strongly suggest you check that out. There are answers, family. We don't have to start from scratch. Brother Garvey, Brother Noble Drew Ali, Brother Elijah Muhammad, Brother Malcolm laid the groundwork that we are building on. We don't have to start this all from scratch. We have attorneys, international lawyers, and human rights defenders that are working vigorously on these issues as we speak. So that's all I'm saying, fam. Think about nationhood. You know, it's something. When I look at the Olympics, I remember my daughter, Zakia, my youngest. She said to me, Daddy, why is the black girl running for, I think it was France. So why is the black girl running for the French team? She's not French. I said, well, baby girl, she was likely born in France, or her parents moved to France, and she declares France as her nation, her nationality. So, but shouldn't she be running for like an African team? Oh, my daughter was sharp. Yes, she should be, right? But she don't have a nation. So when you see these black people that running for France, they playing for England, they play, oh, we got these white names or these white religious practices or these white references. You out your cotton picking mind, like that's a bad thing. You need to be out your cotton picking mind. Because to have a cotton picking mind means that you have a slave mentality. See all these white references, right? My daughter was perceptive. We are playing for someone else's team, a team that hates us. It's like Jackie Robinson integrating professional baseball, and people were spitting on them and hitting them and writing them death threats. I'm tired of playing on somebody else's team. I want to play on a team where what I do counts, or what I say is valued, where it means something. I don't want to be on a team where all the teammates despise my very presence. What's the value in that? So family, I'm done. Enjoy your weekend, whatever you choose to do, but just think about what I said. Check out the United Nations, check out these different conventions. Listen closely to Republic of Africa, Brother Ishmael Bey, Brother Ramsey Yunus, Sister Elena Porter. They have remedies that I think we need to take a lot more seriously, family, than we do. A lot more seriously. It's very important because one day we could be lighting fireworks for ourselves. Huh? One day we can have cookouts celebrating our nation. Those of you here, those of you who are not watching, who fought, the pioneers who fought for an independent nation. So that when you celebrate, when you got military heroes, and you talk about the teacher of the year, it's your people who love you. Family, we can do it. Marcus Garvey said, wake up, you mighty race, and accomplish what you will. We can do it. Other people around this world are doing it. Look up new nations formed in the world in the last 20 years, and it's going to blow your mind. This is not hocus pocus stuff, family. This is real. So that's all I want to say, family. Thank you so much for joining. Do that study, family. Do the study. We deserve a nation of our own. We deserve to celebrate the holidays and the people and the experiences that have meaning and value for us. There's nothing worse than being somebody's lapdog. They celebrating a victory for themselves, and you so happy to be with them, and you don't realize what the hell are you celebrating. This ain't for you, it's for them. That's one of the worst things we could be, living vicariously through other people's accomplishment and achievement. What I'm saying is let's live through our own achievement. Let's be able to stand up and our names be in history books 50 years from now when our grandbabies read, oh, Grandpa Bakary and Grandpa Mark McPhee and Grandma Henry Miller were among the pioneers who helped to carve out a nation for black people. And we salute them. Let that be the narrative in the future, not the narrative that our grandbabies are still doing silent marches and candlelight vigils and getting upset when Pookie gets shot by the enemy. Let's change the narrative, man. We have the power to do it if we believe, if we organize, if we fight and resist and disrupt and build and cultivate. And if we look at the blueprints left us by our elders and ancestors. If we can do all that, family, I got 3 words for you as I close. And those 3 words are, we will win. Peace, Black Power. Enjoy your weekend, family. Peace.